Yan, kulang ng haircut. Balikan natin haircut. Ayan na. Kamusta naman kayo dyan? Hello from Solid North. Yan, Solid North tayo kasi kailangan natin pag-usapan ang ang Tigre ng Norte. Ang ating minamahal na presidente. Pag-usapan naman natin ang mga political outlook for the country. What are the things that we have to pay attention to? What are the pitfalls? Ano mga dapat titignan natin? So, ayan na yung mga DDS natin. Bakit ka masyadong obsessed kay, parati ka nagpo-post about her, tapos ganyan. Kasalanan ko ba kung, marami tayong mga, piatos contents, diba? Wala naman mali dyan. But, just to be clear dun sa mga ibang kasama natin, nagsabi, oh, Richard, dating kakamping yan. Come on, get out of here. Mga walang ya kayo. Kayo ang kasama sa unit team. Kayo ay nagpabalik ng mga Marcoses sa Malacanang. So just zip it dahil zero yung moral ascendance niyo. And please lang, bago kayo mag-usap ukol sa corruption, ukol sa mga ganyan, pag-usapan natin ng Farmali. Pag-usapan natin ng mga Pogo. Anong panahon yan? Panahon ni Tatay Digong yan. Sige, gusto natin pag-usapan yan. Galit na galit daw sila. Si BBM daw ay tuta ng Amerika. Di pag-usapan natin si Tatay, I love China. China will protect me. Si Tatay Digong na make us a province of China. Ay, joke lang yan. Dami natin pwedeng pag-usapan. Tapos, of course, speaking of which. Okay, Picasso, magbabay ka muna kasi alam ko meron kang mga priorities. Pag-usapan natin mga kuting. Okay? Pag-usapan natin mga kuting. Okay. Picasso, you just go there, ha? Wait lang, paano natin si Picasso? Wish sa mami niya. Go back to mommy. Yan, okay. Ito na. Mga kakuting. Mga kasisyo. Ayan na, pag-usapan natin. Wow, so much going on. Unang-una guys, baka lang... Unang-una guys, yung mga nagsasabi sa atin na Tito moves ka na, mag-practice ka muna. Sabi ko sa inyo, you don't even know what you're dealing with guys here. And taekwondo legs yan guys, diba? Kaya talo ko pa yung Gen Z natin na pinsan, diba? Tignan mo sino pang nag-lower ng Bruno Mars Brazil, diba? Kaya sabi ko pag nag-Latin America ako, fit in na ako eh. Oo. Kaya yun. Ito guys. Ito. Diba? Wala kayong ganyan guys. Tignan nyo guys, yan. Tignan yung center of gravity. Strength yan guys. Taekwondo legs yan. Wala pa nga yan ha. Wala na yan. Mamaya na yan player. I'm just saying guys, yan. Bago naman kayo magpaano dyan. Ayun yung Bruno Mars moves natin dyan. Brazil. Anyways guys, that comes with decades of taekwondo and football. Great people. Okay guys, actually kanina may tanong nga ako kung meron tayong bagong version ng kung may greetings na ba si Madam? Si Madam may greetings na ba? Ito na ba? Wala ba siyang ganyang greetings? Order ng siopaw at wonton sa Chowking. 2 pang extra rice na isama natin sa wonton soup. At yung siopaw natin, yan, diba? Aba, talagang satire lang yan ha, parody lang yan. Mamaya magagalit na naman mga DDS sa atin. Guys, wala naman kayong sense of humor. Kasi ang humor nyo lang, ang mga ka-level lang ni Tatay Digong na sobrang corny, na sobrang thunders, na toxic masculinity, na minsan kadiri ng mga jokes na hindi naman talagang jokes. But, diba, sana naman si Madam, kung meron siyang ganyan na mga greetings sa, ito ba yung PLA anniversary? Yung mga ganun na China. Parang yung mga Chinese kong kaibigan, ano daw? Ganun yung mga reaction nila, diba? Yan, nag-order ng Chowking. So, Yan. So, I mean, guys, marami tayong pwede pag-usapan today. Bago tayo pupunta kay BBM, ha, don't worry. Fair naman tayo. Fair naman tayo. We cover all the bases. We cover all over the bases. Speak of the Dutertes, actually, may interview din tayo sa CNN Indonesia the other day kung saan nag-warning tayo sa... I warned Indonesia's President Prabowo to be careful na hindi niya gayahin si BBM. Ay, sorry, gayahin si Prabowo. Ay, gayahin si Dito Digong.
For me, it doesn't mean Prabowo is a disaster per se. I think as long as they learn the right lessons, and let's be honest, in fairness, with all due credit to the Indonesian foreign minister, I think there was a lot of correction afterwards, a lot of clarification, which we had the same thing with the Philippines. When Duterte said, I'll throw away the Philippine arbitration case, immediately the foreign ministry came here and clarified. So I think it's a learning curve.
So yun, so guys, di ba? So I'm even going around the region and giving interviews and all of that. So natik na natin. Hindi lang CNN International, hindi lang yung CNN Philippines na wala na pala ngayon, pati CNN Indonesia. So we're just spreading the word and everything like that. But guys, going back to this, alam ko marami sa inyo nagsabi, bakit si Richard, ang dami mga dance moves, mga ganyan-ganan, mga brother Louie, ganon. Sabi nga natin, in-explain natin yan, guys. Meron tayong Gramscian analysis dyan. Kung hindi nyo na naintindihan yung mga historic block analysis, yung hegemony analysis, yan. Ulitin natin soon. Actually, I'm looking at doing proper lecture series on Frederick Jameson's notions of postmodernism. Anong kinalaman nito sa fake news, disinformations, culture of meme, all of these things we're saying. Also some lecture probably on Gramsci, historic blocks, war of maneuver, war of position, and things like that, no? At resistance. How can we have an effective resistance and also push for more democratic space? Lahat na yan, siguro, hopefully, God willing, if may time tayo, may budget tayo, whatever, I'll try to put together some sort of proper lecture on those things. But of course, layman version, medyo progressive version, counterparts sa mga Jordan Peterson types. But before going to cutting, let me just tell you guys, when it comes to dance, ang gusto ko talaga natin gayahin, naghanap pa ako ng mga collaborators. Ito talagang gusto kong moves. Ito talaga. No work, party harder, confidential funds, 11 dudes, yan. Okay, anyway. Whew. So why am I doing all of these things that I'm doing here? Okay, let's go to the meat of discussion, guys, here. Oh, serious na tayo. Now let's transition to serious stuff. You know, I love literature because sometimes literature provides allegories. And sometimes literature allows us to understand politics and life and culture, no? In ways that normal social science theoretical discussion doesn't do, no? Now, dun sa latest column natin sa Philippine Daily Inquirer, I quoted from Gabriel Marquez actually two different works, no? Ito yung sa Love in the Time of Cholera niya, where Gabriel Marquez said, life obliges people over and over again to give birth to themselves. Meaning, hindi lang tayo pinaanak ng ating ina, obviously. That's the natural birth. But throughout life, you have to constantly give birth to yourself, meaning you have to innovate. Meaning you have to level up. Meaning you have to adjust, no? So, katulad ng sinabi natin sa Inquirer article natin, in many ways, politics is the same. Since key figures need to constantly reinvent and give birth to themselves, lest they are devoured by vicissitudes of electoral predilections. One could argue that the Philippines is not too different from Gabriel Marquez's fictional town of Macondo, the center stage of 100 years of solitude, right? Where hardly any of the central characters are immune to either the fickleness of time or shocking transmogrification. As in Macondo, ours is a beautiful mess, spectacularly vibrant, unabashedly tragic, and dramatically colorful. So yan ang konteksto ng discussion natin today. If you look at it, in theory, the Duterte should be in their weakest ever position. In theory, the Duterte should be in their most vulnerable position ever, right? naging joke time na yung mga sinasabi ni Sara Duterte. Baksak yung numbers niya right and left. Sa NCR, barely over a quarter. Sa Balance Luzon, her numbers are dismal. In Visayas, down by 20 points in the last quarter alone. Even in Mindanao, where she used to have almost universal support, it's now down to 80%. Really, the only region that keeps up her numbers at barely 50% majority, 28% disapproval rating. So kung titingnan natin lahat ng mga bagay na yan, klarong-klaro na talaga guys, na mga Duterte talaga are in their most vulnerable position ever. And then the fact na meron tayong mga ganito, mga low life na patay gutom na mga trolls na gusto mag-insulto sa atin na parang ewan, that just shows that they're vulnerable. That just shows na they are in a position, guys. They are in a position of vulnerability, and kaya ngayon yung mga trolls nagsisilabasan na. But and this is where our dilemma comes in. Sa isang banda, sabi ko, siguro one of the cruel ironies, or actually pleasant surprises, with the whole Uniteam Axis victory in 2022 is that perhaps the Marcoses were the best people to keep the Dutertes in check. Because after all, the Marcoses are the OG. Right? Pagdating sa trapo politics, pagdating sa authoritarianism, pagdating na, alam mo na, Guinness Book record, the level of, alam mo na this, no one beats the Marcoses. So in a way, parang may poetic justice na nangyari kung saan, in the end, ang kabanggaan ng mga Dutertes ay mga Marcoses. I don't want to talk about Amy Marcos. She's practically irrelevant because neither side is really paying attention to her at mukhang walang pag-asa rin manalo sa Senate yan anyway. And don't want to take her ideas on foreign policy, whatever, yung mga pretentious interventions niya seriously, right? I mean, this is a person ang dami sinasabi pero no serious publication, no serious thinking, etc. Hindi ko alam how do they allocate, yung mga chairmanship of Foreign Affairs Committee. We need legit people to lead the Foreign Affairs Committee, etc. And legit resource persons, hindi yung mga joke time na kinukuha nila over the past few years. But anyway, whatever. Not even worth discussing. So sabi ko, one of the interesting things here is that nakahanap ng katapat ang mga Dutertes. Because had Leni Robredo won the 2022 race, and I don't want to get into that long debate about nagkaroon ng dayan, whatever. Ako, simple lang naman explanation ko eh. The moment na nagsama ang Marcoses and Dutertes, that became a formidable, almost unbeatable team. So the fact that Leni was able to get almost 16 million votes, the number of votes that made Duterte get landslide victory in 2016 just tells you, Leni really did very well. She really overperformed. Except kalaban niya, combined na dalawa eh. So medyo unfair. Parang 2 versus 1 ang nangyari. Diba? Now, what I said there is that siguro nagkaroon ng poetic justice na nakahanap ng katapat ang mga Dutertes. Because had Leni Robredo become the president, and then kung si Leni Robredo push with good governance agenda, no pork barrel, walang kababalakan, walang Maharlika Fund, walang mambo jumbos, it's very likely na lahat yung mga natalo niya sa 2022 elections, and then yung mga trapos na nasa Kongreso, Senado, lahat yan maging kalaban niya. So you could have a situation which is very similar to what we have, guys, in Peru, in Latin America, kung saan progresibo yung presidente, pero hawak ng mga trapo at oligarkiya at mga kung sino-sino yung legislatura, yung Supreme Court, whatever, and then nakakaroon ng gridlock. In the case of Peru, for instance, we have had back-to-back, essentially legislative coup against progressive presidents. No, sobrang gulo yung situation there, right? In the case of Brazil, for instance, under Dilma, Rousseff, what we had is there was a time na kalaban niya yung buong Kongreso. Right? At nagkaroon ng showdown, and then she was impeached, and the next thing you know, yung nag-replace sa kanya na Speaker of the House, naging Vice President yan, na-impeach din dahil sa corruption. Eventually, they ended up with the monstrosity of Bolsonarismo. Right? A kind of a proto-fascist clown show. So, parati ko sinasabi na yun yung poetic justice, na the fact na hindi nanalo si Leni, perhaps ironically, made it easier to keep the Dutertes in check. Because had Leni defeated BBM again, then you would have had a very bitter Marcos family teaming up with the vice president na Sara Duterte and then plotting right and left. And then also working with trapos in the Congress, trapos in the Senate, trapos kung saan-saan to really bring down the Leni Robredo government. So you could have imagined if Leni Robredo really pushed ahead with drastic good governance changes, and I do believe that she would have loved to do that, sobrang magkakaroon ng gridlock. And perhaps Leni would have been an isolated and besieged president. So I'm laying this out because I've noticed not many people have analyzed that. As in, hindi ko narinig na may nag-analyze ba ano bang mangyari kung si Leni yung naging presidente noong 2022? Tapos tinalo na naman niya yung mga Marcoses, pero si Sara Duterte yung vice president, pero yung mga oligarchs andyan pa rin sa Congress and Senate. It would have been a very dangerous situation because either Leni Robredo would have had to reconsider a lot of her progressive policies para walang gulo, or she would have pushed them at the expense of essentially stability, right? And you could have seen a situation kung saan, let's just say, Leni is the good version of Arroyo. Kung maalala nyo, we had something like that when Gloria Macapagal Arroyo could not get the Congress on her side and nagdi-defy yung Congress sa kanya. Sobrang hina, besieged si Arroyo. And not to mention multiple coup d'etats during her time. So I'm just laying out for you guys what have been the counterfactual. So in a way, sabi ko, the poetic justice is that BBM winning actually made it much easier to check the excesses of Duterte's because the Marcoses come from within the system, meaning within the oligarchy, right? That also extends to foreign policy issues. Precisely because, unlike Leni Robredo, BBM never took a strong stance on West Philippine Sea until the 11th hour in the elections, until that like whatever mumbo jumbo debate sa SMNI. That also made it easier for BBM to recalibrate yung ating foreign policy towards some sort of correction. And because the Marcoses have this ito yung image ng Marcoses, diktador, whatever, it also made it easier for BBM to recalibrate yung war on drugs. So because hindi softy-softy ang tingin kay BBM, dahil walang element of misogyny. Of course, if Leni had been the president, imagine the level of misogynistic attack against her. Imagine the level of oligarchic backlash, counter-revolution, counter-mobilization, sabotage, all sorts of different things against her, right? And had Leni taken a more independent stance, maybe Biden would not have been helping her. Maybe China would have been more aggressive in undermining her and spreading disinformation and fake news and all of that. So, yun yung poetic justice na nangyari. Yun yung poetic justice na nangyari. Na the fact na hindi nanalo si Leni, it made it much easier to keep the Dutertes in check. And then things got more interesting. Dahil kung titignan mo, Dutertes made it even worse for themselves. First of all, they teamed up with the OGs who could not easily be fooled. In fact, wake-up call kaagad kay sa mga DDS yung pinaka first moves ni BBM, including his decision not to meet the Chinese ambassador. He had his first press conference and major meetings were with ambassadors of Korea, India, yung charge d'affaires ng US Embassy, etc. Walang China. And most importantly, hindi niya pinili si Sara Duterte as National Defense Secretary. You know, all of those things were telling you something very clear. That Marcoses hindi maging tuta ng mga Dutertes. Like, excuse me, we're the OG here. But the Dutertes made it worse. Most particularly, two individuals, Quiboloy and Digong. These two old men did not understand the lay of the land. Not only did they underestimate Marcos, they also underestimated how easily pwede sila pabaksakin, di ba? And we saw the culmination with Quiboloy's essentially being dragged out of his hole, and also his compound, etc., whatever you want to call it. And then of course in the case of Digong, right? Also very isolated and bugbog sarado sa mga hearings, all of these exposés and whatnot. So, and then Duterte really made it worse. And I would say there were three moves that Rodrigo Duterte did that severely undermined the position of Duterte's. One, yung tinawag niyang tambalos-los at binastos niya yung buong Kongreso. So he essentially declared war on the lower house. So he mobilized support there and in effect, humina si Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. it made it much harder for pro Duterte or Duterte sympathetic figures like Arroyo to make their moves. So na-isolate din si Arroyo. And then the second major move that Duterte did, which really damaged his position, was going to China. Going to China last year without any coordination whatsoever with DFA. Essentially, sinampal niya sa mukha yung gobyerno ng Pilipinas, and he tried to conduct his own parallel foreign policy, and in ways that really made it easy to paint the Dutertes as essentially tuta ng China. Right? BBM tried to be nice around this and all of that, but it was pretty clear that Digong was actively trying to sabotage or undermine our position sa West Philippine Sea and try to run a parallel foreign policy. And then number 3, and most importantly, is what happened last year na to, right? Last year, January, a year ago, when Duterte openly came out and attacked BBM, pinastos niya si BBM, cocaine addict daw, inaway niya si First Lady, he called for separation of Mindanao, he insinuated or tried to kind of imply na we need a coup d'etat, among other things. So, kung titignan mo yung mga yan, Duterte's made a second mistake. First, they teamed up with people that they thought they could control, but they were never in a position to control, and they should have known better. And second, in fairness, Digong knew it, but Sara did not follow the advice, but Digong was helpless to stop the situation, because masyado siyang focus kay Bongo, I mean, like, kasi ang gusto ka naman talaga ni Duterte was like this Medvedev, Putin kind of switch na si Bonggong president, siyang vice president, but in effect, alam natin sinong presidente, whatever. That was out of the window, which just tells you how incompetent and medyo hindi na gano'n ka-sharp si Digong towards the end of his presidency. So you have that situation kung saan talagang mga Dutertes constantly were digging their own grave. But dito papasok yung problema. And this is the biggest paradox of BBM administration. Unang-una, hanggang ngayon, hindi ko maintindihan bakit ganyan ka-passive or ganyan ka-reactive yung communication strategy ng BBM administration, not in mainstream media. Because I think, I mean, things that Cesar Chavez and Garafil, the people in charge of presidential, office of communication office people, magaling yung mga foreign policy statements, official statements. But what I'm talking about is liquid information warfare. Yung liquid information warfare, kung saan talagang babuyan, bastusan, online, etc. I'm really shocked and surprised na walang panglaban ang BBM camp sa kanila. In fact, I would say that tayo ay mas epektibo in fighting back against the DDS trolls. Of course, unang-una dahil veterans na tayo, 6-7 years na tayo lumalaban sa kanila, at we come from a point of conviction, because we don't like people who are inciting violence, people who are encouraging mass atrocities. We don't like people na scammy, right? Ayun natin mga budol. But nevertheless, I would have expected the BBM camp to be much more effective in mobilizing their social media, unconventional media, liquid warfare counteroffensive. I'm really, really surprised. In fact, napansin ko nga minsan, yung mga pro-BBM na vloggers or etc., ang content na kinukuha nila, analysis kinukuha nila ay sa atin. Na neither with them, neither with the Duterte side. So this is really one of the big mysteries to me. Kasama rin dyan yung the president's own ability to communicate in ways that makes him effective. Kagabi lang, actually the other night, may nakausap tayo na nagtatrabaho sa Malacanang dati. Actually, I think still working Malacanang. Hindi ko na sasabihin kung sino yan. Alam mo ang sinabi niya sa akin? Ilocano pa to, ha? Or taga dito, Cordillera. Ang sabi niya, mas gusto nila si Digong kasi si Digong pinaganda yung sweldo, ganyan. And then, boring daw si BBM. Boring and aloof daw si BBM. Boring and aloof daw si BBM. And this is a person na taga Solid North, right? Kumikita pa rin sa gobyerno. And yun ang sinasabi niya. And guess what? He or she is not the only person I hear na ganyan, na aloof and boring si BBM. Which is another paradox, because kung titignan mo yung 2022 campaign ni BBM, yung mga vlogs niya, sobrang glossy, sobrang well-organized, sobrang impactful. Yung mga TikToks nila sobrang galing. Sobrang galing to the sense to the level that ginaya pa sila ng Indonesia. You know, the Prabowo campaign in Indonesia, I was told, is the same campaign team. Hindi ko na sabihin kung sino yan. Letter P. Nagsistart yung pangalan ng campaign manager dun sa communications nila. You see, BBM was so effective in his campaign strategy in 2022 that hinire pa yung team niya ng mga ibang candidates katulad ng Prabowo. Base dun sa mga reports na binigay sa atin ng aking mga Jakarta-based major media contacts. So one of the mysteries sa akin here is, what the heck just happened? Magtatatlong taon na, hanggang ngayon, hindi ko pa rin nakita si BBM na nagbigay ng isang spontaneous, funny, engaging, exciting, fireside chat speech. Wala. He only made one attempt early on. Sabi niya, ayoko ng spokesman. Nagmagaling siya, and then, naging laughing stock siya when he said, no, we're not that high. Nung tinanong yung inflation rate, we're not that high. And obviously, we're not that high became a meme itself because everyone knows the subtext. And the next thing, tinawag si Diokno, kung sino-sino. And then after that, wala na. That's it. He never tried to do a spontaneous fireside chat again. That, for me, guys, is weakness. Because if there's one thing we learned from the Zelenskys of this world, on the progressive side, from Trumps of this world, on the not-so-progressive side, you need to be an aggressive communicator. You need to be a disruptive communicator. You need to be actually almost walang hiya, unabashed communicator. I just don't see that with BBM. So, sobrang talo talagang BBM camp when it comes to liquid, unconventional, SOCMED media warfare. Actually, tayo po yung mga lumalaban dyan in terms of pushing back against yung mga ek-ek ng mga ka-DDS and all of that. But that's actually a continuation of the war we have been waging since 2015 at least, right? So, again, these are weaknesses that we have noticed for a very, very long time. And for some reason, hindi ko pa rin nakikita ang improvement sa front na yan. And I really do not understand where is this coming from. Now, marami po tayong mga theories dyan. And then, this is where we can go Shakespearean. You know, some people are born with greatness. Some people achieve or attain greatness. And for some, greatness is thrust upon them. The fact of the matter is that BBM won with the largest margin mandate ever. Many elements of the opposition na galit sa mga Dutertes kinda aligned with him, or at least are in hibernation mode, or medyo nag-recalibrate ng kanilang opposition. And then, sila Lenny and some of the opposition essentially just went into hibernation mode for a while. Ngayon, medyo bumalik lang recently. It really makes you wonder what's going on there. Is it complacency? Is it complete lack of imagination? Is it this hope na let's just hope na matapos na to and let's get over? Right? Is this really, as they say, character's destiny? Ako kasi guys, yung sinasabi nila na character's destiny, ako kasi po, I'm a stoic, right? I believe in stoicism a lot. You know, Seneca, Cicero is not technically a stoic, but some of his reflection on stoicism, Marcus Aurelius, a lot of these people. You know, if you read also neuroscience, brain rewiring, neuropath reconfiguration, reengineering, all of those things. Ako, naniwala po ako na people can actually improve and change and recalibrate. Kaya nga, I started with that quote from Gabriel Marquez, that life obliges people to give birth to themselves over and over again, meaning, you have to level up. Parang software yan. iPhone 2, iPhone 3, iPhone 4. For some reason, I'm just not seeing that software update. Now, marami po yung mga teorya dyan. There's some left field theories na dahil dahil na mumbo jumbo, na hocus pocus yung elections, Kumbaga, magkakaroon ng total nuclear mutual assured destruction dito kung ito goes all out against the other side. Eh, but for me kasi, as Trotsky would put it, right, to paraphrase Trotsky, as an advice to BBM, you may not be interested in a war with Duterte's, but the war with Duterte's is interested in you. It has already started for a very long time, right? So, we're seeing a couple of mistakes here. First, there is no machinery or infrastructure to mobilize a counter movement sa mga Dutertes pagdating sa information warfare. I'm not talking about mainstream media. Magaling ang mainstream media strategy nila, yung mga statements nila. Magaling si BBM mag-speech yung ganun. I'm talking about the spontaneous, disruptive, social media, liquid warfare. Wala. Pangalawa, I haven't seen any significant effort by BBM himself to project strength, to project spontaneity, to project dynamism, and to push back against all of these rumors and semi-rumors and all of these jokes and all about his, his character or lack thereof, no, in terms of strength of character, right? And then number 3 comes in. And this is where things get very interesting. And I really suggest you guys check yung interviews natin. My goodness, eto na naman sa mga walang hiyang mga ka-DDS natin na kasama dyan. Anong pinagsasabi nyo? Do you have any idea nakailan vlogs na tayo just about the PhilHealth issue? We probably have 12 different vlogs, right? And videos discussing hour and hour after hour and after hour yung mga anomalies or yung mga inconsistencies or concerns about the PhilHealth issue alone lang. Iba pa yung latest budget na pinasa, which is something that I want to go back to. Let me also remind everyone, right? Especially yung mga walang niyang iba dyan, na kung ano-anong sinasabi. Just because I'm Ilocano or from the North, that never blinded me to the basic reality. Unlike yung mga iba dyan na nagbulag-bulagan nung unit team sila, and then nung laos na sila, natanggalan sila ng confidential fund or something ganon, biglang anti-Marcos na sila and pro blah blah blah. Few years ago, when the Dutertes were in power, when the Marcoses were the allies, when I was working in the media, which was like obsessively pa-neutral effect and all. This is the kind of videos we did, and it's one of my proudest works with my great team.
Time of the year again, mga kapuso, as we celebrate.
Ito yung ginawa natin
Year
video.
again, mga kapuso, as we celebrate the 46th anniversary of the Martial Law Declaration, isang debate na naman ang makikita natin sa comment section. And the point of contention?
Si Ferdinand Marcos nga ba ang the best president ever?
At matatawag ba ang martial law period bilang
The Golden Age of the Philippines?
well, kung sila ang tatanungin
Well, that's
nyo,
supposed to me.
at kung anak niya naman,
Pero ayon naman kay Lee Kuan Yew.
to note, may iba pang comments si Lee Kuan Yew tungkol kay Marcos. Check out his book. Okay, wait. Let's be objective about this, mga kapuso. Let's just look at the cold, hard, and color-blind facts to assess the Marcos presidency.
1970s Philippines, a glamorous and prosperous period for the country.
Daw.
Look at the hospitals,
Ganda.
the roads, the infrastructure,
Golden era.
the heritage sites,
Galing.
cultural activities.
Ganda.
What's not to love?
What's not to love? Greatest
Yung
people.
bilyon inutang ng bansa natin para sa mga ito, mga kapuso, paano kamo nangyari yun? Ganito kasi. For Marcos to build, he had to borrow. Isang debt-driven growth ang nangyari nung panahon nito. Ngayon, okay lang naman mangutang, basta nababayaran. Parang credit card lang yan, mga kapuso. Pag swipe ka lang ng swipe at hindi mo nababayaran on time or at all, ang mga utang mo, tataas at tataas ang bills mo. Ngayon, itong ilan sa resulta ng palpak na debt management nung panahon na yan. Siyempre, tumaas ang foreign debt ng Pilipinas. Sipin mo, from only $360 million noong 1962 to $28.3 billion noong 1986. Kaya hanggang ngayon, binabayaran natin ang utang na ito at babayaran natin ito hanggang 2025.
5 this year. Hanggang ngayon inutang.
Hashtag, this is where your taxes go. Yung 6.4% inflation rate na nangyari ngayon. Nako, walang-wala yan. Nung panahon ni Marcos, in 1984, umabot po sa 50% yung inflation rate natin. Kaya for sure, lalo tayong hindi makakabili ng sili nito. Pagdating naman sa exchange rate, malaki rin ang binaksak ng piso kontra dolyar. Pero hindi lang piso ang na-devalue, mga kapiso. Pati ang employment rate sa bansa bumaba rin. Itong dahilan kung bakit marami sa ating kababayan pumili mag-OFW. Bukod sa devaluation ng peso at underemployment, apektado rin ang economic performance natin sa international stage. At habang tayo nasa bawi mode all these years, umarangkada naman ang neighboring countries natin, katulad ng Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, South Korea, pati ang Vietnam. Dahil dyan, binansagan ng bansa natin bilang sick man of Asia noong early 1980s.
Panahon ni Marcos
Pero hindi lang
yan.
tayo nangungulilat pagdating sa gross domestic product. Napag-iwanan din tayo pagdating sa manufacturing at industrialization. Sa ilalim ng dictator Park Chung-hee, nakasabay ni Marcos, yung South Korea, ginawa nila yung Samsung, Hyundai at LG into global brands. Imagine, kung maayos lang ang pamamalakad ni Marcos noon, di sana tayo mga Pinoy may mga ganon din tayong global brands. Kasing ganda rin sana ng Manila ang Seoul or ng Singapore na naging global logistics hub sa ilalim ni Lee Kuan Yew o ng Taiwan na dumaan sa tinatawag na Taiwan Miracle sa ilalim ng Kuomintang Party. In fact, kahit titignan natin yung mga kapitbahay natin katulad ng Malaysia, sa ilalim ni Mahathir Mohamad, pati sila gumawa ng sarili nilang global brands katulad ng Proton Cars. So what was Marcos' excuse? Bakit pa rin tayo nangungulilat at napag-iwanan kahit sandamakmak na inutang ni Marcos? Anyari? Well, failures in economic management. Ang isang malaking dahilan dyan ay yung tinatawag na crony capitalism, kung saan ipinamigay ni Marcos ang daan-daan mga kumpanya
Yun!
at projects sa kanyang friends and families, yung tinatawag na cronies. Karamihan ng mga ito nalugi at kailangan isalba or bail out ng gobyerno. Dahil sa kapalpakan ng cronies ni Marcos, nalugi po yung ating bansa ng 3 to 7 billion dollars. Dahil dyan, umakyat po yung ating foreign debt. Aside from crony capitalism, andyan din yung mga na-bankrupt na malalaking proyekto katulad ng Bataan Nuclear Power Plant. Gumastos po tayo ng 2.3 billion US dollars dyan. Pero teka prof, di ba pinasareto ng mga kritiko ni Marcos kaya natenga ito. Actually, Kapuso, pinasareto because leading geologists warned that the power plant is built on an active earthquake fault line. Isa rin daw volcanic hazard ang BNPP. Delikado po siya pero still ginawa siya dahil walang tamang supervision. Siyempre, huwag natin kalimutan yung graft at corruption sa panahon ni Marcos. Naging rampant noon ang kawalan ng bidding system sa mga government project. In fact, mga kapuso, madalas din ang pag-over budget sa mga projects ng panahon na yan dahil ang laki po ng mga kickbacks ng cronies ni Marcos. Again, these are just some of the failures of Marcos' economic management. Kumbaga sa pelikula, trailer pa lang ito, mga kapuso. In fact, hindi pa natin pinag-usapan yung human rights record abuse ni Marcos. Mukhang panibagong video ang kailangan natin para ma-discuss nito. Pero sa ngayon, Marcos pa rin nga ba?
Marcos pa rin! BBM! BBM!
Reminders lang po namin.
Makita nyo, hindi pa ako sanay mag-journalism doon masyado. Medyo, yung energy level, wala pa dyan. But, probably I have to do a redo version of this. I did this back in 2018, guys. Alright? I did this back in 2018. So, all love to my, sila Bernice and my former colleagues, mga kapuso sa GMA. I think that's one of my proudest productions in terms of using facts, graphics, and everything. Hindi ko ginamit yung sarili natin mukha, yung parang kamukha natin. Although, bakit parang naging mukhang Lebanese tayo dyan? But you get what I'm saying, right? So, please, yung mga walang hiya dyan, ng mga DDS dyan, na nung time na yan ay nag-apologize for mga Marcoses and all of that. We were the ones who were making these videos. We were the ones, guys, na ginagawa natin yan. We were doing our best. Now, that video got millions of views. And millions is not enough. We have to do more of that. We have to keep on doing more and more and more of that. Right? So, going back again dito sa discussion natin, guys. Medyo alanganin na yung situation natin ngayon dahil just when mga Dutertes are finally reaching a moment of potential inflection pababa, boom, ang ang daming mga controversies around itong budget natin. This is $100 billion budget. My goodness. $100 billion budget, right? This is the biggest ever budget the Philippines has had. $109 billion. Actually, kung mataas sana yung exchange rate natin at around 54, 55, which is the usual rate we have, this would have been $120 billion. Right? So this is huge, guys. 6.33 trillion pesos, right? And this is much higher from the initially proposed 6.18 trillion pesos na yan, guys. And even though yung revenues lang natin is 4.64 trillion, and may budget deficit na po tayo ng 5.3%. Ang laki po, guys. Ang laki talaga nung budget na yan. At ang laki ng mga question marks. Ang laki ng question marks and concerns. And the fact that BBM himself had to kind of exercise veto, a little bit dilly-dallied on this, I'll tell you what, it did not make it look good for him. Oh, pero mas less konya tayo ngayon. At least yung pagka-konya natin ngayon mas okay. But anyways, guys, balikan natin. To be honest, I think the momentum is shifting. You know, isa sa mga pinaka-effective memes na nakita ko out there. Again, I call them memes because wait lang, bakit may babaeng bikini lumabas? Sorry, wait. Wait. Decente po tayo, wait lang. Where is it? No, I saw this super, may nakita akong sobrang galing na meme na ginawa. Magaling ang mga DDS sa mga ganun eh. So essentially yung meme nila was, I think it's in the other phone. Actually, ang meme nila dito is essentially ito. Si Sara Duterte sa isang banda, tapos nakalagay, 125 million pesos lang, ganyan. And then, sa kabila, nilagay si BBM, and then nilagay, Maharlika Fund, billions. This fund, billions. Etong project, billions. So basically, it's a whataboutism argument that unfortunately works. Right? Yung idea na, pichugin lang naman yung kay Sara Duterte, million lang naman eh. So, parang yung argument is that even if aminin natin may mga kababalagan dyan sa ginagawa ni Sara Duterte, pichugin lang yan eh. Wala naman yan eh. Incomparable yan dun sa bilyones na alleged anomalies dun sa budget ng gobyerno. Sa akin palagay, that's a very strong argument. Not in terms of substance, because tingnan natin, 'di ba? First of all, nakaw is nakaw. If it's really nakaw, then it's nakaw, right? Whether millions or billions is bad. Pangalawa, well, naghahanap pa tayo ng Piatos Mary Grace level of smoking gun dun sa mga ibang anomalies in the budget of, alleged anomalies in the budget of Marcos. Saan yung version ng Piatos Mary Grace na sobrang in your face na questionable? Wala pa rin. But nevertheless, dahil may generalized distrust sa ating sistema, may appeal yung ganitong argumento eh. Tingnan mo, in fact,
alam niyo bakit 150 million lang yun? Kasi kinumplete yun.
wait. Gamitin ko to para mas malakas ah. Kasi, ito yung line ng mga DDS ngayon, guys. And it's a strong line. It's a malakas siya in terms of impact kung hindi ka masyadong nagka-critical thinking eh. Right? Again, we're talking about communication here, guys. Let me put it at a better... diba? Kumbaga, parang sabi na, kahit totoo man yun, yung mga Mary Grace Piatos na yan, pichugin lang yan kumpara dun sa mga billion-billion na ninanakaw ng administration. Ganon yung linya po nila ngayon. That's the narrative. Again, to use the Frederick Jameson, that's a narrative right now. Na, bakit kayo focus sa amin, small time lang ginagawa namin. Ito.
Alam niyo bakit 150 million lang yun? Kasi kinumplete yun. 1-1, ano ang sequence at ano ang hihim yun. Napakaliit ang 150 million. So bakit kami magnanakaw ng 150 million?
Ba't kaya magnakaw?
Nakawan sa gobyerno, billion.
O, nakawan sa gobyerno ay billion na. So, yun yung line ng mga DDS ngayon. So, this was the line last month pa. November pa lang, yun na yung line ng attack nila. Na small time lang yung ginagawa nung sinasabi nyo sa amin. Billion lang. At parang point nila, sa sobrang yaman namin, ano lang yung 150 million, di ba? So, unfortunately, this kind of narrative could work eh. Especially since sobrang kulang ng communications at sobrang kulang ng counter-disinformation effort ng administration. And then aminin natin, there are also some anomalies and some things that have to be explained, and we're still waiting for the Supreme Court ruling on the PhilHealth issue, on the confidential fund issue, and then of course, kung maalala nyo, the International Monetary Fund, right, the IMF already said, essentially, yung Maharlika Fund na yan, ayusin yan, kalokohan na yan. Alright? Restore capital of, ito yung news, ha? So, IMF, ito yung report. So, International Monetary Fund told the Philippine government, restore capital of state-owned banks used by Maharlika Fund. In short, yung Maharlika Fund nyo ay mambo-jumbo lang. Hanggang ngayon, hindi natin alam ano yung purpose. Kinuha niyo yung pera sa land bank, whatever bank. My goodness, bakit nyo hinawakan yan? Wala rin naman saysay yan, diba? Walang kakwenta-kwentang ideas, and matagal natin sinasabi na walang kakwenta-kwentang idea na yan. Ito yung mga Maharlika Fund, ganun. It also is all that historical revisionism. So we have been discussing these issues for a very, very long time, guys. At matagal natin kinikriticize yan. Diba? So, ang point ko ngayon is, ang dali sanang kontrahin yung sinasabi ng mga Duterte. Sasabihin mo lang, whoa, wait, nagmamaganda kayo, kamusta ang Farmali? Kamusta ang Pogo? Like, ang daming mga anomalya na nangyayari sa Pogo. Baka billions of dollars ang pinag-usapan natin sa mga mumbo-jumbo money, dirty money, drug money, na lumabas nung Pogo na yan. Sa Quadcom lang lumalabas yan eh. But that's not enough. Dapat Malacanang also harps on that. Farmali. Michael Yang. Nasaan na yan? Billions din ang pinag-usapan dyan. Yung mga skandalo sa DOH, billions ang pinag-usapan yan. Yung confidential funds ng Davao throughout the years, billions naman pinag-usapan yan. In fact, in total, if you look at all of those anomalous spending during Digong, billions of dollars ang pinag-usapan. And yet, defensive lang yung admin eh. They're constantly on the defensive. And then ngayon, and this is the last part of my discussion for today kasi babalikan natin yan. Tomorrow, we're gonna talk to Admiral Ong. Pag-usapan natin, is there a threat of coup d'etat even? Because may mga nanggugulo talaga at may mga nag-agitate dyan. Alright? And taking advantage of the situation. And I'll tell you this, and this may come off as quite controversial. But let me tell you this, guys. Yung ibang kasama natin dyan, who are so worked up on scandals about PhilHealth, DepEd, Maharlika Fund, and all of that, I completely agree with you. Kailangan talaga na tignan natin na mabuti. Alright? I completely agree with you. What I do not agree with is this. Na purong focus kayo sa issue na yan, na 90% ng inyong content, 90% ng yung mga speech nyo sa, yung mga patibak speech nyo, whatever, and then, 10% lang ng content nyo, 10% lang ng intervention nyo, ay ukol sa extrajudicial killings. I'll tell you what, corruption is evil. What is more evil, way more evil, right? If this is Dante's, like, levels of hell, level 3 ang corruption. Yung level 7 and worse is mass killings. So I'm quite scandalized by some of our friends who seem to be so never Marcos that unwittingly or worse are allowing the Dutertes to write this whole narrative to get themselves off the hook. May problema ako dyan. May problema ako dyan. May problema ako dyan. I Ayaw maniwala sa akin, tignan nyo yung mga ibang content creators na good governance and all of that, 'di ba? Yung iba pa nga nag-work pa nga sa BBM administration to begin with, but pa kayo nag-work sa BBM administration, alam niyo naman questionable. But anyway, sinasakyan talaga ng mga DDS ito. Sinasakyan ng pro-China elements ito. For all we know, sinasakyan ng China ito to weaken, to divide, to confuse the Philippines. You don't believe me? Go on TikTok, guys. On TikTok, China's TikTok. Ang daming content dyan about anomalies ng BBM administration, allegedly or otherwise. Sobrang konti yung content about extrajudicial killings na libo-libo ang pinatay. Sobrang konti yung content makikita ko ukol sa Davao Confidential Fund. Ukol kay Polong, ukol kay Baste, how he has been running things, ukol sa Farmali. Halos wala. So I wonder what's going on there. I'm really wondering what's going on there. Because obviously there's always the fear of manipulation, lalo kung China yung platform. But and I'm saying this because TikTok is very, very important. My goodness, guys, most people now are getting their information from TikTok kasi wala silang panahon na makinig sa isang oras ng elucidation on the, vicissitudes of Philippine politics. No. They just go and look at the 1 minute. Kaya ako nag-TikTok na rin ako. Yun lang palang gusto niyo, fast food. Sige. Kaya ko rin yan. Pakit na fast food. Ganyan, lagay mo lang. Yan. So, in that moment, I'm really shocked to see some people there. They're making it very easy for the DDS camp. Barely yung content nila is about extrajudicial killings and ICC and all of that. 5%, 2%. Barely anything about harkening back to Farmali and DOH and mga kapalpakan nung panahon ng COVID. So given na yung mahina yung communication strategy ng BBM so far in pushing back against all of this maharlika, mambo jumbo, polvoronic BS, right? But sana naman yung mga ibang kaibigan natin dyan, go lang kayo. I'm all for going for good governance and all. Sige, okay lang kahit nag-work ka kay BBM dati and then umalis ka later. Okay lang yan. But do not forget, you have to also pay attention to the even bigger challenge to our constitutional order, which is mass murder and atrocities, which is potentially treasonous relationship with China, which is complete assault on constitutional democracy and all of that. It's not either or, my friends. Hindi yan either or. Tingnan nyo, in just the last hour, wala pang isang oras, I showed you the whole video I made about the budul of the Marcos dictatorship and the worst things that happened. Right? But at the same time, eye on the ball, guys. Eye on the ball. At the rate we're going, I'll tell you what. I really suggest look at the works of Perry Anderson on Brazil. What happened in Brazil? And what happened in Brazil around 10 years ago was that sa sobrang sampal-sampal ng controversy, anomalies ganun, bumaksak, the whole system went down, and it was replaced by Bolsonarismo and all of that horror na situation that happened in Brazil. Yes, it is not either or. It is a matter of how you balance your critique. Is it 60-40? Is it 70-30? Is it 50-50? Is it 40-60? What bothers me, some people, is like 95-5. 5% criticism of all of these horrible things that happen under the Duterte, and then 95% is all attacks on BBM right and left. Right? Yun yung sinasabi natin dito, guys. Balance nyo yan. At the very least, go 50-50. Para lang, although I would question, seriously, between BBM and DDS, alright, sino mas direct threat sa constitutional order natin? Sino mas direct threat sa West Philippine Sea? Nuance is everything. It's lazy. It's lazy to just play the purist game. It's just lazy to attack the latest bad problematic thing. You have to have a lingerie point of view. You have to look at the big picture. You have to look at magnitudes and orders of threat to our constitutional democracy. And by the way, lahat ng sinasabi ko dito is separate and runs parallel to, and it's not mutually exclusive from, yung sinasabi natin na kailangan ayusin ang positioning sarili niya. Para at the end of the day, hindi lang tayo umasa sa BBM versus DDM, whatever. Sorry. There has to be a third force, a good third force. And now we don't have any real third force because the third force itself is sabog. Sobrang sabog. The left is like splintered into 1,000 filigrees. Yung ibang dilawan ay either never Marcos or never Duterte or whatever. Ang dami dyan, walang nuance. Ang dami dyan, sinasakyan lang yung latest anger, latest issues, latest scandal. Hindi structural yung approach. Hindi structural yung approach. Kaya love ko yan si Justice Carpio eh. Kasi either or, he'll attack them and all eh. And then in fairness, give it to Ronald Llamas and even Trillanes and all who say it in your face. Let's not forget who's the number one threat here. No one is saying BBM is okay. But who's the number one threat here? So, yun lang. Doon sa mga ibang kaibigan natin, especially mga nagtrabaho kay BBM dati, tas lahat puro mga ginagawa nila, attack lang si BBM, and then halos walang content about, my goodness, tens of thousands of our kababayan butchered, right? My goodness, how many Patricia Evangelista book level we need for people to wake up to what kind of horror that was? And you want to talk about corruption? Let's talk about Farmali. Let's talk about the DOH scandals, Panoni Digong. Let's talk about billions of confidential fund of that family, whatever. So, I'm just saying. So kayo, sa mga followers natin, demand it. Doon sa mga heroes nyo. Yung mga ina-idolo-idolo dyan, sabihin nyo, oy, wag lang nga, purong dito lang. Oy, wag kayong magpagamit yan. Mamaya ginagamit yung rhetoric nyo, yung ano nyo, iba-weaponize nyo. Ako, kitang-kita ko eh, pakita ko itong mga walang yang tomato. Let me show you what kind of clowns and low lives we're dealing with. So the other day, remember I had an interview with with Professor Vicente Rafael, no? And we talked about the whole thing. Hindi lang Marcos Duterte, but the whole lingerie of the Philippines. We went to Spanish period, we went to the Ilustrado, we went to Rizal, whatever. And then look at what the DDS camp did, ah. Etong mga walang yang to, ah. I'm just gonna try to find this if it's here. Grabe talaga. Kaya sabi ko, ingat talaga kayo. You have to have a sense of strategic communication. Hindi lang bara-bara lang, hindi lang yung ano lang, just to make yourself feel good, whatever, make yourself. Our problems are very deep. Very, very deep, guys. Sobrang malalim ang problemas natin. And the challenges we face are very, very serious, guys. Very, very serious, guys. Ito, I mean, my goodness, like they're these low lives that I don't even understand where on earth do these people come from. Akala ko nga si Maharlika yung pinaka-ewan, may mas ewan pa. Wait lang ah. Ito. Patapos na tayo, nahanap na tayo. Ito ah. Mga tarantado. Ay, sorry. Ito.
Kaya dating senador, hindi ko sila yung nakababayan.
Sino to?
Na may first-hand information po sa pagiging addictus benedictus di umano ni BBM, ay mayroon pa pong lumabas na isang mga kababayan, isang high-profile na tao na sinabi na rin na alam niya ang pagiging addict ni BBM. Dahil hindi lang po chismis mga kababayan
Ito.
sabi-sabi, ang sabi niya.
So remember, this is the interview I had with Vicente Rafael just the other day. Diba? And pinag-usapan natin, among other things, the fact na they were both in LaSalle at one point and he was like 1 year older, one higher batch and all. And he said something almost like, medyo flippant, almost, you know, on BBM. And then the DDS, hindi ko alam sino to mga ewan na to. Tingnan niyo mga, I mean, what kind of clowner is this? Ano to? Sino to? Tao ba to?
First-hand information daw mga kababayan dahil alam niya dahil pareho sila ng paaralan ni BBM. Pareho silang nag-enroll sa De La Salle University at pareho din silang nag-aral sa Oxford University. At alam niyo
Hindi,
ba kung ano ang sabi niya?
tabad, hindi nag-aaral sa Oxford si Vicente. Cornell University siya. Isi ganyan sila, they don't even listen to the basics. Vicente was referring to both his experience with BBM when they were in LaSalle, not close but from a distance, and also a classmate of BBM in Oxford. But anyway, what do you expect from these people?
kababayan ha. Ang kanyang pangalan po mga kababayan ay si Vicente Rafael, isang historian na dilawan. Oh, dilawan pa yan mga kababayan ha. Di ba kampi na sila sa mga dilaw? Apparently mga kababayan, nananatili itong anti-Marcos siguro mga kababayan. Kaya nilaglag si BBM sa interview niya kay Hey Darian. Oh, yung dilawan din mga kababayan na komentarista at kinumpirma niya mga kababayan with all the confidence talaga na gumagamit ng droga si BBM dati and he loves to get high. Oh, sabog mga kababayan, bangag. Oh, love na love daw ni BBM yan. Panoorin po ninyo ha. By the way mga kababayan, ang video pa lang ito ay credit natin kay Richard J. Hey Darian. Oh, pahiram
Oh,
muna
di
dito
ba?
ha.
Tingnan mo to, ah. Iniinsulto pa yung family name natin. Just to remind this I don't want to say midget, but whatever that thing is, Hidarian stands for lions, right? So make sure, before you're making insult to my family name, alright? Okay, baka maano tayo dyan. Alright, okay, anyway.
Richard Hey Darian, na isang dilawan. Nakikinig muna tayo mga kababayan sa usapang dilaw ha.
This guy is like a cocaine addict.
Oo. Sabi ni Hey Darian mga kababayan, ang grabe, cocaine addict. Oh.
I was-
talaga ang word ha, cocaine addict.
Ito, I was saying what Digong was saying about Marcos. See, like, tingnan mo how these low lives are twisting our words, using my content pa, di ba, to make all of these things.
Si Hey Darian ang nagbanggit niyan mga kababayan.
Oh, I was mentioning, Digong's mentioning that.
Oh. He is
Yun,
a party boy. Ang tinutupin niya mga kababayan si BBM.
Likes to party.
He likes to party. Huh? He likes to party. He likes to get high.
He's a party boy. He likes to party. He like to get high. He like to kick back. You know.
Kick back.
These are not.
Oh, taranta si Hey Darian mga kababayan. Oy, bata, nagurgur ang ating...
But you midget low life. I was not sorry. I'm sorry. I was talking about. I was like, parang it was humor.
Ito, oh, takot ka ba?
Hindi
Hey
man lang nilagay
Darian?
yung mukha ko dyan, itong mga walang eh.
Bro, don't do that.
Huwag mong pigilan, oh. Malamang isa na rin ito si Hey Darian mga kababayan na mga dilawan na kinain ang kanila sariling suka dahil apparently mga kababayan, parang pinipigilan niya na ipagpatuloy nitong si Vicente Rafael na isang historian mga kababayan na banggitin yung mga adictus benedictus si BBM.
Oh, it's true. I mean, it's
Oh.
it's not just anecdotal. I mean, there's all kinds.
Oh, it's true ha, it's not just anecdotal.
Okay, anyway, whatever. This is what I'm telling you guys. Ito yung level ng chipmunk voice. I mean, I won't be surprised if that guy really sounds like that. But whatever. But this is what I'm telling guys, ah. Ito yung sinasabi natin guys. Ganito po yung situation ngayon. Kaya yung isa mga ibang kaibigan natin dyan, do what you have to do in terms of holding this administration accountable, pero huwag kayong magpagamit and be very, very careful. See, immediately I pushed back against these low lives and saying they're twisting our words, they're making things out of that, whatever. And by the way, this was in reference to BBM during his younger days. It has nothing to do about what he's doing today or whatsoever. And Rich coming from Team Fentanyl, right, to make such accusations, etc., right? Hindi ko na sinasabi na yung sinasabi Trillians and drug lord, ibang usapan yan. But, do you get what I'm saying? So, careful lang, guys. Careful lang, guys. Okay? Careful lang talaga, guys. Yun lang sinasabi ko. Have nuance, be smart, fight the good fight. As Trotsky put it, neither nor. Don't take any sides, but push on both fronts. Push on both fronts because that's the best chance we have. Para lang may pag-asa yung ating bansa. And there's some room so that in the future, sana, someone better, better people, whether it's Lenny, whether it's Riza, yes, even Rafi Tulfo would be an improvement on all of these people, right? Let's give them a chance. Or Vico Soto and all of these great people who still have a future. Let's give them a chance. Alright? Alright. On that note, thank you very much mga kameta. Maraming salamat. Habol tayo sa mga ibang engagements natin. Please continue to support us. Spread the word, spread the wisdom, and demand from your, I mean, hindi naman kayo nagkukulang sa mga constructive criticism sa atin. Go ahead, sure, no problem. But also demand from other people. Huwag kayong magpapadala sa mga pa-purist, pa-sanctimonious na ibang tao dyan. Demand from them to be smart, to be responsible, to carry the burden of responsibility, to be strategic with their interventions. Because, guys, Guys, be careful. This is a total information warfare, and who knows, it could be a prelude to something even more dangerous, even more serious, right? So on that note, tomorrow pag-usapan natin, are there threats of coup d'etat? Are there threats to our national security? Will China take advantage of the situation, or are they already taking advantage of the situation? So we'll talk to a former admiral and someone who understands the Philippine military very well. On that note, thank you very much. God bless, and talk to you soon. And maraming salamat sa inyong support. Thank you very much. God bless, and talk to you soon.